Welcome, everybody. The music's on, which means it's time for us to begin speaking. This is Three Guys Before the Game, the 421st episode, and it has three different names in the title. That's right, three different names. Not one, not two, but three different. We got a lot of stuff going on. You ready? Here it is, titles. Shane Lyons speaks. Football victory. Hoops rolls.
Hoops rolls?
Hoops rolls.
Hoops roll?
The Hoops team rolls.
Hoops team rolls.
They rolled.
I got you.
They rolled. Welcome in, everybody. It is Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 421. Dean is here. You already heard his dulcet tones, although he's got a voice inferiority complex that we'll get into in just a little bit.
I do.
And the senator is here as well. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com, the premier recreational vehicle dealership in the state of West Virginia. Not only are the only one that offers you a warranty forever, but they're the dog. Visit them at burdettcamping.com, located in Winfield, if you happen to be driving around there. Three Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. Coming up in a little bit, I'll tell you why you need to go to Comax Business Systems. You know, Bob Huggins always likes to put abbreviations on things. Like he just takes initials from things, just calls you like he'd probably just call you like H, Hoppy. Like,
Does he call you TC or
T.
T?
He just goes to T.
Just goes with T?
G.
Yeah.
So he would just go with Comax Business System. He'd just go, folks at KBS are terrific. That's what he would give you, right? He's just like, I'm not wasting Comax Business Systems. I'm just going to go, KBS. They're terrific. Great people. That's what he'd probably go with.
And plus, if you're listening to when he speaks about players, you have to know the code, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to know like the nicknames and the initials. Otherwise, I'm like, who's he talking about? What?
Right, yeah. So I jump on him a little bit about that, and I go, well, these nicknames are these. You always can. He goes, I don't come up with them. He said the other kids call the other kids this, and I just listen to what they call them, and then I just pick it up. Like Big Sweat. Remember Kevin Noreen was like Big Sweat because he sweat a lot. He sweat a lot, so they would just call him Big Sweat. So he'd be in pregame, Big Sweat is playing pretty good. Yeah, you're right. It's got to be there should be like a bingo card.
It should be in the program.
It should be in the program. What Hugs calls his players.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy's just Jimmy. Right, Jimmy Bell's just Jimmy, right?
Jimmy Great Feet Bell.
Jimmy Great Feet Bell. Trey Mitchell's just Trey.
What's he got for Tucson?
JoJo. No.
That's Harris.
He calls him Little Joe.
Yeah.
Calls him Little Joe. And then Josiah Harris is JoJo.
Okay.
And Mohammed Wagi is just Mo.
Mm-hmm.
Mo's terrific. And what else do we got? Who else? Just kind of think.
What about Stevenson? You have anything for Stevenson?
I think he just goes Eric.
Oh, you got it. I mean, if ever there's a guy that is due a nickname.
It'd be Stevenson, yeah. Thought it was really interesting last night after Eric Stevenson got the 2 fouls in the first half and knew he wasn't going to go back in. He takes the last seat on the bench and turns the chair. So the seats on the bench go straight. But he took the last one and curled it. Classic coach move.
Needed to see.
Yeah, he just I'm a player coach.
Right.
I need to see the whole floor. I don't want to I don't want to keep looking my sideways. He goes, I'm just going to turn chair and watch the whole game.
Because he's engaged. Needs to pay attention to the game.
Well,
One just going to tune out, sit at the end of the bench, and not watch.
I'm going to go down there and sulk and watch the game.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk basketball here in just a little bit, but we often chide Hoppy for his public affairs show that he does. Call it a coffee clutch, of all things. And today he had outgoing WVU athletic director Shane Lyons on the program. It was the first time that Shane had done any interview since his removal, separation, whatever you want to call it, from WVU. So we'll get into a couple of excerpts from that. What was your takeaway, sir?
Well, first of all, thanks to Shane for coming on. I've been working on that since he got fired, frankly, because he deserved an opportunity to tell his side of the story, and it had not been told, number one. So we went back and forth a little bit, and he agreed to come on. He wanted to wait a couple days, and I think till the separation agreement was finalized, the whole thing with Alabama was done. Let him get his ducks in a row, and then so he came on today. Was on for like most of the first hour. I tell you what stood out to me was one that he gave details of that November 13th meeting at Blaney House with President Gee, where he was essentially fired, and gave his version of events, which just was Dr. Gee told him that they're going to go in a different direction, in a new direction. And there weren't a lot of specifics about it. And Lyons was, according to the interview, was really taken aback by that because he just got a new contract in January. He got a good job performance review. 2 weeks earlier, he said he got a text from Gee saying, we got a lot of stuff going on. But that got a lot of stuff going on, but we're in a foxhole together. So do you want to go there?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
pick up on that. So this was Shane talking about that meeting from that Sunday.
Did you know what was coming?
I had a good indication. Earlier in the week, about Wednesday or Thursday, I had a phone call that said that they were coming after my job. Be prepared. So it wasn't really that caught me off guard. And I'm like, well, why is it my job? So then obviously Saturday rolled around. We had a great game against Oklahoma, won. I had this meeting already set for Sunday afternoon, and then went to Blaney House that afternoon and sat down with Dr. Gee. And after a few casual conversations about various things, he said, we're going to make a change. And so obviously that came to great surprise. And I asked him, I wanted to see what his issue was, and saying, well, why a change? And of course, he kind of beat around the bush. It boils down to Hoppy. It boils down to the football situation. A lot of heat was surrounding our football program at that time. And, I look at it that I'm the scapegoat. I'm the guy.
Scapegoat.
Yeah. I mean, again, let's go back. The big thing is about the contract extension of Neil Brown.
And Neil Brown, and there was a deal. You all redid the deal in 2021. He had an extension that would take him, I think, through 2026. And if he were to be fired, then he would be due the full amount of the contract. By the same token, if he left somewhere, he'd have to reimburse the university.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I looked at that and go back to 2020. Neil had been here 2 years. I get it. His record was 500 at the time. But I looked at the first 2 years and the trajectory of the program, where it was heading. And, it was heading in the right direction. The culture was right. The student athletes, the type of recruiting, everything that was happening in that program was heading in the right direction. His name had come up for a couple jobs, Auburn and South Carolina. So as an athletic director, you start juggling this to say, what if he wins the next year? Well, if he wins the next year, his buyout was like $1.5 million to $2 million, which is not much in our business. So my thinking was we need to increase his buyout if he ends up leaving to close to $5 million, which we ended up doing. But in turn, they negotiated on their side to say, well, if he stays and you fire him, then you owe a certain amount, which was 100% of his contract. I say all that, Hoppy, because that's not done in a vacuum. That's just not a Shane Lyons decision or an athletic director's decision. There's other people, that's involved in that, including the president.
Did the president agree to that deal? When you obviously you had to pitch that deal to the president and say, this is what I want to do with Shane Lyons. Did Dr. Gee say, okay?
Yeah. I mean, we pitched it to say we want to keep Neil and we think he's the future of our football program. And, with this, we need to go back to his agents and work a deal. And that's what happened. And this wasn't overnight. This was several backs and forths. And, President Gee was involved and Rob Alsop was involved. And ultimately, the chairman of the board, Dave Alvarez, signed off. So it's not done in a vacuum that Shane Lyons did this deal on his own. These type of deals and these type of contracts, and especially with a high-profile football coach, it's done, in collaboration with other individuals.
And that was a deal you wanted to do.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm not taking, and placing blame on others. It was a deal I thought was the best for this department moving forward.
All right, so there you have Shane Lyons from the interview on Talkline. Brad, what was your takeaway from that?
So a couple things. One, I think that backs up what we had said day one when this happened. This is primarily a football decision. That's what this is about. All that other stuff is just noise. This is about football not achieving the results that that everybody wanted to. I thought the other part, he articulated, and we've talked about this before, but to hear it directly from him, his reasons for offering the contract extension, I thought were well articulated there. And it's what we have said before on this program. That was a gamble at that point. But welcome to the world of being a Power 5 athletic director with a football program that matters. We've been through that with many other coaches before, where you're trying to walk that line between you think you have the right guy, but you want to protect the university in the event that he's poached. And I think that's what you heard from him. His goal there was to protect the university. If Neil Brown were to get poached, at the very least, they would then get $5 million back to the university. It obviously hasn't worked that way because the wins haven't followed, but you can criticize the results because they didn't get there. But I think he articulated the reasons for the extension, that maybe that gives some clarity to some folks that thought he was just out there winging it by himself, being careless with the money. I thought that was a good explanation of what you do when you're in that chair and you're trying to take calculated risks and make educated guesses about where your high-profile coaches are going to be or go next.
Yeah. I talked to someone in another Big 12 school from an administration perspective, and they said what he was facing was a self-defense move. So he had to defend himself away from others coming after him and try to protect himself, but it's a coin flip, like anyone knows. That's how they kind of term that.
And protect the university.
Right.
Because if you're going to lose your football coach, you would like to receive a big chunk of change back so that can kickstart your next search and provide some incentive moving forward. That's the impetus from raising that buyout. But as he also said, the other side isn't going to just say, okay. It's a negotiation, and they're going to ask for something as well, and they did.
Here's an irony about all that, and we'll have to see how this plays out. If I had to bet today, I don't think Neil Brown's getting fired. So, a lot of this was, if that's what happened, a lot of this was precipitated upon the lack of success on the football program and the contract and possibility they got to fire Neil Brown and pay him $16 million over 4 years. But I don't think he's going to get fired.
And so it raises another question about timing, is if this is a football decision, and he certainly thinks it is, right? And he's the one that sat in the meeting, and he thinks it's a football decision. And if Neil Brown doesn't get fired, then why is Shane Lyons removed?
Well, we're going to get to that because I think it's more than just a football decision. I think there's something else involved here, and we got into that in the interview.
All right, here we go. Let's do this one here. Shane let's talk about the evaluation. Shane's evaluation of the football program and Neil Brown as the WVU head coach.
You were evaluating very closely the job being done by Neil Brown and his staff. You were in constant evaluation of how they were doing. What was your evaluation? Now, end of season, now you haven't been involved the last game or two, but what was your evaluation as to how he is doing as a head coach? And if you were still the AD, would you keep him?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, again, people don't see behind the scenes, which an athletic director you do. So you look at it, and I think last week really proved a point which I felt strongly when I was athletic director, that he had not lost this team. And that's the big thing, where you're in the locker room, you're around the student athletes, and they played very, very hard Saturday at a tough place to play. Oklahoma State, hadn't lost a home game in how many
2 years?
2 years. So that just tells you how difficult it is. So, the players played extremely hard. It was a great win. And again, is it where we need to be? The answer is no, Hoppy. I mean, we were looking at probably 7 or 8 wins this year. So did they meet our expectations? No. Did it meet Neil Brown's expectations? No. Same time, a couple plays that going our way early in the season against Kansas and against Pitt, we could be setting to 7 wins. We wouldn't be having this conversation, in my opinion, today. So Neil Brown is, I look at it this way. The first couple of years and, what Neil Brown took over and the players he had his first couple of years, and plus adding COVID in there, I honestly look at this as year 2 for Neil Brown, not year 4, year 2. And that's, it's kind of resetting it. And that was part of it because the contract extension was resetting it to say, okay, let's start, going forward from here. And he's constantly building this thing. And you make a coaching change, you're taking 3 years back, backward steps. You're not moving forward. You're going backwards. You're going to lose kids to the portal. You're going to lose a very good recruiting class that he has right now. And he may have lost some of those kids now because of the continued talk about him being fired. That doesn't help the situation at all, especially in the world that we live in recruiting. So do I think that, he deserves a chance? That's not my decision. But if I was still sitting in this chair today, I think, yeah, he understands and this isn't about a contract. This is about the issue at hand of our football program. Are we constantly going to get better? The answer is yes. If you make a coaching change, you're taking a couple years back.
So you would, if you were still there, you would want to keep him?
I would. I think he checks every box that we're looking for in a head coach. Unfortunately, the big box is he needs to win more football games. And I believe that's coming in the future. But, right now he's sitting right, near, 500 record, a little bit below 500. But you look at it to say, can we build off of this? And I think the answer is yes, it can be built off of. It's a process. It's not going to happen instantaneously, especially some of the players that he inherited and so on. It's going to take a lot longer than what people look at 3 or 4 years.
So, we had talked about here on this program when you called it year 0 when he was first here, and I think Shane kind of had adopted that same thing. Then you throw in the COVID year, and that's another throwaway year that you weren't able to do it the way you would want to do it.
And adapting to NIL, those things. Schedule, I don't think you can take the schedule out of it. I mean, just 4 or 5 things that create some headwinds, injuries, transfers, those kinds of things. I do think it's interesting that here's the guy that if he had not been fired, he would have had a significant role, if not the primary role, in deciding Neil Brown's future. And you hear him say, I would have kept him. I would have kept him. I think that's interesting.
And he made a logical case. A lot of those things we've talked about as well. I think he made a great point there at the end that we talked about Saturday on our game day coverage. Someone better make a decision soon on this, man. I mean, you're just letting that program spin. Now, if you're going to make a change in the football program, then okay, because you're starting over, as he said, you're taking a couple steps back. If you're keeping that staff, you probably need to tell them here pretty quick. You have your best recruits sitting in State College this past weekend. So if that staff doesn't know right now what it's doing, that means players don't know. That means the recruiting class doesn't know. And every minute matters. We're here 48 hours after the season has ended. And if that staff hasn't been informed that they're staying, you're putting them in a dangerous spot and behind the 8 ball to try and keep these things together.
All right, one more piece here. Well, 2 more, actually. Shane, you asked him, Hoppy, about the perceived tension between the Country Roads Trust and he and the athletic department. And here's what he had to say about that.
Did any discussion come up, or were you aware there was tension, if you will, between you, the athletic department, and the Country Roads Trust, the outside organization that is trying to raise NIL money?
Well, some of the discussion I asked President Gee, why this change? Why are we making the change? And one thing came up was about the trust. Well, we're not aggressive enough, in name, image, and likeness. I tried to explain to him we're as aggressive as we can be without crossing the line in order to protect ourselves of getting involved in Title IX issues. So, the trust has come up since it started, that the athletic department needs to be more involved. And we're involved as much as we can be as a department without crossing the line of saying dollar for male and female student athletes in person to person, the number of male and female. So, the trust was started, but again, the trust actually needs more people, for fundraising aspects, that I believe the trust wants us to be more involved in the fundraising, and they want us to be, be more involved in a variety of different areas that we just can't be without.
So you were not going to do that?
No, I shouldn't say no. I was not going to cross the line in order to, jeopardize the integrity of the department and federal funding. If you're found, to be, OCR investigation, then I was not willing to cross that line. I was willing to go up to the line as far as I could to promote it and be involved as much. I support name, image, and likeness 100%. That's just a different pot of money now and we've talked about it. In my speaking engagements, I would talk about the trust that, you have three different pots. You can give to scholarships, you can give to the trust, or you can give to operation expenses and capital projects.
Shane, the argument from the other side is that, and I'll start with the generalization, there are no rules anymore, that you can do pretty much anything you want, A. And B, that the trust, the Country Roads Trust, which is operated by former AD Oliver Luck and Ken Kendrick, who is a big donor of the university, that's a private entity, that they are not subject to Title IX issues, that they can do whatever they want. Therefore, you shouldn't have to worry about that because they are a private entity. So I think that they believe they would not get in trouble on Title IX just by handing out money to whoever wants it.
And that is correct. And that's why there's a separation, there's an arm's length, Hoppy, between what the department can do and what they can do. As long as they're doing it, we don't have Title IX issues.
So what did they want to do that you said that's over the line?
I believe which we started doing, they wanted our coaches to be more involved in promotion, in the promotion of that. From what I understand, they wanted us to be more involved in helping fundraise or identifying, potential donors for fundraising aspects of that. And that's where the more you get involved, we can do education, which we do. We can do, tax and contract litigation and all that for our student athletes. But making the deals itself, we can't get involved in the department. If we start making the deals ourselves or identifying, actual sponsors or people to give to the trust, then that starts getting closer and closer that you as an athletic department are involved, and it could run Title IX implications. If it's all done by them, it's not an issue.
See, I think that is a significant part of this. I'm not sure how significant, but I think it's a part of it because you heard it there, and we've heard through other sources too, is that you have the Country Roads Trust. They're trying to raise money, and you have to have that because now you're going to pay student athletes. But you have Shane saying, okay, I support that, but you can't go over the line. He said the line a number of times. You can imagine him saying that in discussions with the Country Road Trust. Like, we have a line, we're not going to cross that line. And you can sort of hear the trust saying, well, wait a minute, if we're going to be successful, we need you to do these things. So I think it's evident there was some tension there between Shane and the trust that contributed to it, that was a factor in this.
Yeah, what's the trust primary responsibility?
Raise money.
For which sport?
Football. Basketball.
So both.
Football.
Those two.
And the Title IX thing, and there's, Shane saying, look, I don't want the OCR Office of Civil Rights in to investigate us because we're not treating female athletes evenly. And I don't know what the trust would say about that, except to say, we're a private entity. We'll raise money and give money to whoever we want. And we have no Title IX obligations.
Right, which is why you're back to this is a football and basketball is what trusts have been sprouted up to do. Others are getting money as well, but this is primarily football, one, heavily, and then basketball, two. I think he articulated that extremely well also as to why they can't get directly involved. The key there was identifying prospects. Right? That's why I've said from the beginning on this system, this isn't just at West Virginia. These two things can't continue to exist separately. It makes no sense. It makes no sense that the trust wants athletics help in identifying prospects when they clearly can't do that. That's got to come together at some point. This is no different than if Shane had to call the hospital's fundraising folks and say, hey, can you go get us some money for our mat? I mean, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to have the setup the way it is, number one. Number two, If the issue is with the trust, then the issue should be with the trust. If Shane and athletics can't be involved and identify prospects, then you're back to that's the trust job. That's what it was set up to do. It supposedly was set up knowing it had to identify its own prospects. It had to go raise its own money. It was in charge of getting money for student athletes. So why is Shane held accountable for the trust's lack of ability to raise more money?
But can't you see the point of the trust? And Shane said he was, involving coaches more because if you're the trust, okay, we'll raise money. What's the best way to raise money? Have involvement of the coaches, right? I mean, if Neil Brown's out asking people for money, it's more effective than you're calling them on the phone asking for money.
Then why do we have an outside entity? Why doesn't the department just do this? I'm asking a larger question
I understand.
here.
That is the larger question.
If you need my coaches and athletes to do this, why aren't I controlling it? Why are you sitting in an office building somewhere controlling it when you need me to make it successful?
Yeah,
number one.
That's the problem.
Number two, he
now.
just articulated why. Yeah, absolutely, it makes more sense to have the coaches fundraise. That's always been the case. But if they're not allowed to identify prospects, then don't you see his point? You ask if I see the trust point. Don't you see Shane's point saying, I'm getting fired because I won't help the trust, but I'm not allowed to help the trust, or the Title IX issue is going to come up. And I'm pretty sure if he had a Title IX investigation underway, downtown wasn't going to like that. That was going to be an issue as well. So that to me seems like I get it. I'm sure there's tension. I'm sure there's tension at many schools across the country because it is an incredibly odd setup. That the football coach may need some money to go get players, and he can't get that assistance from inside his athletic department, the people that he reports to. He's got to come outside that entity and go talk to a whole nother group of people that aren't employed by the university even, let alone athletics. It is a bizarre setup.
Absolutely. And all of this turbulence and all of this chaos is all pointing toward the inability of the NCAA to properly look forward and create rules so that we are not living in this absolute tornado of uncertainty. This is the price that you're paying for the inability of the NCAA to be proactive and see the ball coming toward it. And now instead of embracing this and aggressively creating rules, they ran because the Supreme Court gave them the 9-0 decision, and they ran into the hills, and now it is absolutely wild, wild west out there. Yep. And no one knows what's right, what's wrong, and all of this happens because of that.
Presidents hold some of the bag of responsibility on that.
Well, the presidents are the NCAA.
That's correct. Everybody wants to villainize the NCAA. They're just executing for member institutions. It's presidents and ADs that sit on this.
That's a great point.
I mean, they're the ones that set these rules. They're the ones that buried their heads. They're the ones that wouldn't step up and handle this 15 years ago, like so many in athletics were saying. This is a train coming down the tracks. We need to get in front of it. And they wouldn't get in front of it. And now we're here. And now it's an absolute circus mess. Just is. Just simply is, Kercheval. It's a simple mess because everybody hid for 20 years on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. It's the presidents, it's the athletic directors through the years, but at the same time, the executive director of the NCAA, if he were as sharp as he should have been, he could have gotten those presidents together and said, look, I'm telling you, if you don't, you're running the risk to do this.
Hold on, I am not here to defend Mark Emmert. I mean, there's enough things that have gone wrong. That is not what this is intended to do. But he's not in control of it. He's the figurehead, but he's at the wish and command of the presidents running that council. Emmert's not doing that. Roger Goodell's not doing that with the NFL owners. You think he's doing stuff without sign-off from a couple of the key owners? It's not too much different of a structure. That one individual heading up the NCAA is not making that decision. He could have very well been in the room saying that. And everybody went, we're okay. We're fine.
Yeah.
We're fine. You're not fine. It's a mess.
Yeah. As messy as it's ever been. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the world champion Mountaineer football team concluded the 2022 season on a rainy Saturday in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And West Virginia emerging with the victory, snapping the Cowboys' 14-game home win streak, giving WVU its first victory over Oklahoma State since 2014. An interesting game for many different reasons. Garrett Green gets the start. Explosive run to put West Virginia on top. Cowboys come back. get a touchdown, 7-7. Then they get a field goal inside the final minute of the first half. It's 10-7. Then, opening possession of the third quarter, Garrett Green is targeted.
Oh, no, it wasn't
No, it
targeting.
wasn't called targeting.
It wasn't targeting,
Nope,
Tony.
wasn't targeting.
Garrett Green was
Hit
targeted.
on the crown of his helmet by another crown of a helmet with the head lowered, but there was not
Tony,
deemed
after further
targeting.
review, it wasn't targeting. Oh, man. You know what was interesting about that is we were watching the South Carolina Clemson game. And about 20 minutes after that, there was the exact same scenario. It was a running back, wasn't a quarterback, running through the line, got about a yard or two through the line, put his head down. The running back did, put his head down, leaning forward. The defender comes up, crown to crown. Brad, further, looks like targeting. Upon further review, it was targeting, and they kicked the guy out of the game.
Yeah, it was
same play.
Unbelievable.
I don't know how they could look at the Garrett Green thing and say that's the definition of targeting was on the TV broadcast. Crown of the helmet as the replay was in slow-mo with a crown of the helmet. I mean, it was unbelievable, but whatever. So, he has to leave the game because he got hit in the head.
He gets hit in the head.
It's knocked out of the game.
I mean,
so what?
I mean, no pun intended. He got knocked out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that poor guy was sideways.
You could see it
going
clearly.
on. You could clearly see it. And then on comes Nico, friend of this podcast. I mean, he sat right there in that chair.
He did.
Right?
Yeah, friend.
And he goes out there, and I thought he engineered a beautiful.
Hold on, what are you doing? Now you're doing it just to jack me, right?
What?
You're just doing it now just so I'll say something to you every time.
Little coffee. That's all.
What?
Final bit. That's the final bit of the day right there.
Where did the coffee and the thermos come from?
I made it at home.
So where the
But
coffee?
you're pouring it into a Starbucks cup.
Stopped at Starbucks on my way to work.
Well, why do you do both?
Need a little something.
Well, I don't understand why you do both. I mean, either get the coffee at Starbucks or bring your thermos.
Because when I get triple shot latte. Because I like that I like a little milk to start things off for the day, a little milk with the espresso, and then I just go straight coffee after that.
How do you order it?
Latte with an extra shot, so it's a triple.
There's always something else you throw in there.
No, that's it. But
You
now
always
I
say
figure,
like wet or something, though.
No, I used to do that. That's when I used to get a wet cappuccino.
What's that mean? What?
That means give me more milk than you do foam, because sometimes they'll cheat the hell out of you. You go in there and get a cappuccino in this cup, it'll be like the coffee is like to here, and then the foam is there. So you just order it wet, and they'll bring it up to the top.
See, he likes to coffee shame, but you listen to this order, how sophisticated this is?
Oh, gosh, unbelievable.
Anyway.
All right, continue on. I just thought, we're just going to pour coffee now every time?
No, so listen, Nico, okay, what did Garrett and Nico give you? The ability to keep plays alive with their feet. It's a huge difference because let's face it, it was a tough day to throw the ball. West Virginia had little success throwing the ball, although Nico did throw an absolute laser beam on that quick slant to Bryce Ford.
That was a fastball.
That thing had about that much room to get it in.
That was a great pass.
Yeah. So anyway, and then Jalen Anderson.
Oh,
he was the star of the game.
Dude, we probably got to look at this. Was it back-to-back carries?
I don't know if it was back-to-back, but it was almost the same exact play, right? 250
back-to-back series, right?
Would you think it's the first time in school history that a Mountaineer running back had 250-plus yard runs on the same in the same game?
I don't know the answer to that. That's a hard one to top, though.
Definitely in the quarter.
That would be a hard one to top.
I mean, maybe Rat Rogers went off right side, took it upfield twice for a couple big 50s or something like that.
That game was, I think it might have been Neil Brown's best win in 4 years.
Interesting.
For these reasons. One is that, look where you are. I mean, you think you might get fired. You're not sure. Your assistants, what are they doing? Players, they might be leaving. I mean, all these headwinds that you're facing, number one. Number two, you're on the road where you have struggled. Number three, you're playing a team that even though that Oklahoma State was, they're 4-0 or 5-0 when they started the season was a little bit misleading, but still it's Oklahoma State. You don't beat Oklahoma State. All the weather conditions just unbearable. You could have easily just mailed it in. You lose your starting quarterback is technically your backup quarterback. Then he goes out, so your third guy comes in, performs well, and you win the game. I thought they gutted it out. I thought the game itself was a mess. I mean, it was just a mess for a lot of reasons. but they gutted it out and got a win. And I think contributed significantly to Neil Brown saving his job, the way they played.
So I think it's a great point. I'll say this, and I think this staff should get a ton of credit for being able to stay focused, prepare all week with all of this BS circulating and flying around them and trying to keep it together. But I also think we should not overlook, as often happens when you want to give too much credit and too much blame, these individual players had to step up.
Yes.
Credit to those players that could have packed it in, that have been grinding and getting hit and dinged up, and the season's almost over, that they didn't stop.
Right.
That they kept coming. They're the ones that decided. Neil, all due respect, could have given the best speech in the world all week. The players had to decide, you know what, we're going to show up and play. Did Dante still show up and play?
Yes.
And you do that with, as you said, your third quarterback, your fourth tailback.
Yes.
That's your fourth-string tailback back in September that has that monster day. Your backup left guard, and I can go on down the list. So before we just move on and don't credit these players, that offensive line that has continued to be a stalwart, especially in this game when you had to revert to the Army offense and go strictly with running it because you weren't having success throwing it. Congratulations to all of those players. I think they deserve a ton of credit for tuning out noise, going on the road, a place where they had not been good, and finding a way to get a win. Very impressive.
Yeah, it really was. It was just a bizarre game all the way around.
Yeah.
So, like, here's the bizarreness of it. As you said, the quarterback situation. I mean, who had that happening week 1 against Pitt to end it the way that it did, right? All through that. Running back, as you said, crazy. And then the absurdity of where we are in today's college football. Spencer Sanders, their standout quarterback, walks out on senior day, full uniform, but he wasn't going to play because he's going to put his name in the transfer portal. Have we reached the point of, what are we doing?
Well,
Hey, listen to this, man. My man is on the sideline. His team is playing. The game is tight. I'm forced to use a true freshman quarterback who's having his struggles. And my man is on the sideline, and he's not going to play because he's going to put his name in the portal.
Yeah, that dude had taken some hits though the last half of the season. We have no idea what that kid did to get ready for these last couple of games. In a game that for in the grand scheme of things didn't mean anything. Yeah, I'm going to cut some slack there.
And I tell you, in terms of who was going to show up, and West Virginia did. You saw an Oklahoma State team, a couple of those guys did not want to be there.
They made some business decisions. They weren't getting in the way.
They're not going to run into that guy.
I'm going to tackle you. Just go ahead right on by me.
I think there was some of that was going on. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you went in there under those circumstances and won the game. I thought it was great.
I was happy for him. I was really happy.
Yeah, because listen, they were super banged up too. And we mentioned they didn't have their starting quarterback. But what do I always say about that, Hoppy?
No, that's
don't care. Part of the deal. We just outlined what West Virginia was going through.
Yeah.
Nobody apologized. No one put an asterisk by it.
Don't care.
People that are questioning the head coach's job security, and there were injuries throughout the season. Nobody's apologizing for that. No one's giving any breaks for that. So I'm sorry, Oklahoma State. You didn't have guys there.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got beat. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Walk over the logo and get on the bus.
Thanks for having me.
I didn't even go out there. I didn't even do the logo walk because I wasn't going to get wet.
Miserable.
Yeah, just went in there and got my Whataburger, took off, put it in the bus. Double melt. It was extremely good. It was. I never had Whataburger before. I've always heard people rave about it, but it was really good.
That's nice. You complimenting somebody instead of ripping them.
No.
For food.
I'm trying to turn food. I'm trying to stop being negative toward other people's
I still
food.
don't know how Straw got that punt off.
Oh, yeah, one of the last plays.
I talked to him after. I talked to him. I called him off on the bus. Getting off on the bus there.
Yeah.
When we got back to Morgantown, I said, "Yo, come here." And I said, "I want to tell you something, buddy." I said, "You won the game." He goes, "Oh no, Australians, very nice, very friendly." He said, "No, team effort." I said, "BS." I said, "You don't punt that ball, we lose." I said, "You won the game." Oh, no. I said, I don't care what you think. I'm just telling you. Well, dude, let's just play. Let's just play just for the sake of playing.
We don't have to play. You've seen it happen.
Right.
I mean, you've seen it happen.
Yes.
As soon as that ball went through his hands, you knew it. You've seen this happen.
I mean, where would
You've
we
seen
be?
losing a game on a block punt.
Where would we be today?
Oh.
Where would everyone be today if that thing got turned into a sack, a tackle, and
block for a touchdown?
A block for pick the ball up. Where would we be? We'd be like
you would say there's the exclamation point.
Yeah.
You'd say there it is. So that's the season. That's what you got. That's what it is. That perfectly encapsulates what the season was.
So maybe if Neil Brown and this staff stays and they get it turned around, you usually look for a point. In Rich's tenure, it was the ball off the upright, right? At Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You look for a moment. Maybe the moment isn't a win overall. Maybe it's Ollie Straw getting off a punt, and that signaled to the karma gods there that it was time to change. West Virginia's been under a cloud for too long.
Could be.
They're out. Let them up off the mat. It's sunshine and rainbows and puppy dogs, and move forward. Maybe that's the moment that it turned, Kirchhoff.
Maybe so. That would be.
Hey.
And remember, it would be, and when people reflected upon it, years from now, they go, remember when Straw barely got off that punt in rainy conditions and went 36 yards?
Yeah, that might be the catalyst moving this program. That was the springboard it needed.
Think about this. If Zach Collaros of Cincinnati doesn't break his ankle against West Virginia, there would never be an Orange Bowl for West Virginia. There'd never be an Orange Bowl. It would have completely changed the trajectory of West Virginia football had he not got sacked and blowed up his ankle. Defining moment.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one.
It could be.
Last night inside the Childs Center.
Which would also provide some nice closure to this program in particular and you specifically.
I thought of it when I talked to him.
For all the troubles you've had with that continent.
I thought
it
about
would be really nice if that was
trying to make nice with the continent now. Tell us.
I literally, when I was walking in my truck after I talked with Oliver, I went, Brad would be so happy that I've completely mended the fence with the continent of Australia. I mean, I've taken care of it.
You're good now.
I'm good.
You're good now.
These people like me in Australia.
I don't know. Don't give yourself too much credit. I think a lot of that goes to Josh coming in and doing the podcast and being willing to put aside your nonsense and be willing to, he extended the olive branch. You screwed it up. He gets a lot of credit for mending that fence and giving you the opportunity to be able to talk to Oliver Straw.
Yeah, I apologized to Josh that time. I took care of it. I'd like to know whatever happened to the kid that said he was coming and didn't come. Like, where is he? And the poor buddy that's 33 years old for Oklahoma State, I didn't realize. You know, do you know how he got hurt? Tom Hutton, their punter from Oklahoma State, Australian, 33 years old. Out for the year, done for good. Tried to make a tackle. A guy came through and he tried to make the tackle. Now he's 33. I mean, he's like, blew his knee out. Bad. And I talked to the young kid that was spotting for me on Saturday. He's a student there, and he said he's just going to call it quits and head back home to Australia. Married, you know, obviously 33. So, so that's why they had a backup punter in there.
You're 33. Why are you playing college football?
Because you can. It's the best.
Are you kidding me? I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Would you?
Oh.
Well, now that you can get paid.
Huh?
Now that you can get paid, too.
Yeah, that'd be even better. Absolutely. If you told me I could go back, take a couple more swings right now, I'd be sore for 6 weeks after trying to swing a bat or take a couple shots. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would have done that as long as I was physically able. Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
You probably, you know what? Maybe you can now. Get in touch with.
There's a place you could find, Brad. I guarantee it. There's a place you could find some level.
Show up, shave that beard, color your hair, get in there.
Color your hair.
I couldn't get up and down the floor twice.
Last night inside the Childs Center, Portland, Oregon, West Virginia Mountaineers closed play in the Phil Knight Invitational. West Virginia taking on the Gators of Florida. West Virginia went into the contest as a slight underdog, about a point-ish, point and a half. And West Virginia prevailed by a score of 84-55.
Whew.
Beat them by 29 markers.
Beat them.
Lined up, took care of them. And the Mountaineers head back home now with a very impressive start to the season. Their only loss for the 6-1 Mountaineers came to the team that won it all, the Boilermakers of Purdue, who went in to that event as a bit of an unknown and now leave as a legitimate Final Four caliber team
They were
because
good.
of the big center, Edey, who is just unstoppable at this point. Lined up yesterday, laughed at Duke. Just went up to him like got the, did the thing with the thumb. Where they go up and they go, hey, I'm going to get your nose. I'm going to get your nose. I'm going to get your nose. And they go like that. Hey, got your nose, got your nose. Just toyed with him.
My very favorite thing, I know, Hop, you don't get into basketball just quite yet, but my favorite thing about this time of year is what just happened. Since the last time we spoke, West Virginia's played 3 times. I love it, right? 2 really good quality opponents. Purdue went from 25th in Ken Palm the night of playing West Virginia all the way up to number 7. They had a tremendous week. They're very good. But so did West Virginia. Playing Purdue, that Purdue game, I never felt like West Virginia was going to win it, but I also watched that whole time thinking, if I'm Purdue, I'm not totally comfortable here. Because if West Virginia hits a couple more threes, we got problems.
Got us down to 4.
I know. I never felt like they were going to be able to get over the hump, though. But that showed me a little something. But then that set up a game yesterday, guys. I thought it was really important from this standpoint. 1, you need obvious wins. But 2, you needed to bank a couple non-conference wins here that get the attention of the committee. If you don't, now if you finish 10-8 in conference, you're in, and it probably doesn't matter. But if you're in that 8-win, 500 range, 9-9 in the conference, you might need some help. This one's going to go a long way. Now you need Florida to be pretty good. But I thought that was a good March win potentially, not just a win for yesterday.
Yeah. Now you need to. You're going to take a puncher's chance at Xavier on Saturday. There's going to be 207,000 people.
Tough place to
inside
play.
An arena that probably seats 12, sold out. And just because Hugs is there,
Hugs back in Cincinnati.
They're venom. They'll be spitting venom, right? And so it'll be cranked up. Andy Kettler, West Virginia's former strength coach, is now the strength coach at Xavier. So he'll have those guys so frosted at Xavier. I'm going to tell you something. They're going to come in. They're going to punch you in the face. I mean, there's probably going to be like 9 fouls in the first 2.5 minutes because it'll get just bzang and start. It's going to be hard. Point is. So if you're West Virginia, you take a shot against Xavier. Then you have got to get Auburn when they come in here on the final Saturday of January to get another SEC victory. Then you'd have wins over Florida. You'd have wins over Auburn. You've got the Pitt win for whatever that's going to matter. And you set yourself up well. Then if you are 500 in the league, you're in. You're into the tournament.
Here's the other thing about Xavier that'll be a challenge. They're saying the same things right now. They have losses to Indiana, Duke, and Gonzaga. Their big non-conference win is the same Florida team West Virginia just beat. So you don't think it wants to line up and get a win over West Virginia? It needs that to happen as well. So that's going to be an awesome environment.
This will be awesome. You're exactly right. Sean Miller, Hugs. It'll be
Sean Miller, former Pitt point guard. Right, there's a lot going on right there in that game.
I mean, my memory serves me correct, right? When Hugs, in his very first years here, when we got beat in the NCAA tournament, that was Sean Miller and Xavier.
You're exactly right. Sweet 16 out in Arizona.
You're
exactly right.
Exactly right. So what goes around comes around.
That was a great game.
And Hugs is still mad. I think there was a couple of defensive plays, and he could tell you to the second. A couple of guys just kind of lost focus.
You're
we got beat.
Right. That's who that was.
He hasn't let that one go.
Yeah.
Hasn't want to let that one go. So individually, for West Virginia, this team is fun to watch for a couple of different reasons. As I said on Hoppy's trading station post thing that he does, Eric Stevenson's the guy you love to have on your team, but you don't like him if he's on the other team, right? He's that guy, and he goes 6 of 8, bangs in 15. Trey Mitchell, you could see his skill set. 17 and 8 last night with a couple of assists and a block. How nice is he use his left hand?
He's really skilled. He's really skilled offensively.
Yeah.
But back to Stevenson for a second. He is absolutely on fire. He's shooting at an efficiency level like he's a 7-9 guy, just laying things in on the rim.
Yeah.
He's shooting from the perimeter.
Oh, Coach Ruoff's.
What 8 of 9 the other night, and then last night he was 6 of 8, right?
Yeah, Coach Ruoff's working with him.
4 of 4, 3 of 4.
Yeah.
Love it.
How about Jimmy Bell? Jimmy Bell was a problem for Florida's number 1 player, Colin Castleton. I mean, that kid killed us in the past. He had 21-ish against us in the past here, laughed at us. My man was so frustrated yesterday, he went back to that bench. He was about ready to eat the seat just because Jimmy's just so big. and we got early calls against him, and then they brought in their backup center. He got 4 fouls in the first half, which is almost unheard of.
I know, but here's why it's not. Here's what's interesting. Florida's coach came from San Francisco, and there's a big debate in the analytics community on whether you should sit guys with 2 fouls in the first half. There's a lot of numbers that would tell you don't need to do that. Coaches are overly cautious about that.
Right.
And you should play guys more. The likelihood of them getting a third is so low, but you take one of your guys out. So he's a big believer in playing guys in the first half with 2 fouls.
Oink.
Didn't work.
Didn't work
last night. That might mathematically tell you that didn't work last night. That really got them in some trouble with both of their bigs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of an interesting little side note there. If you like the numbers, he's a Todd Golden is the Florida coach's name. He's a big analytics guy, and that's one of the side issues there, Kirchhoff.
What's interesting is
don't
all the foul trouble that they had last night. They had no one foul out. They had 3 guys finish with 4, but no one fouled out of the contest. Also, Mohamed Wagee continues to be fun to watch his development. Doggone kid nearly doubled.
I like
He
him.
went
I
8
continue
points, 9 rebounds, and that was encouraging. Emmett Matthews had a stupid dunk. I mean, he had a stupid dunk like you're playing over at the rec center, and you just say, I'm just going to take this thing to the rim. I mean, you don't see that in college basketball much. I mean, he came down left side of that lane, and he just said, I'm going to put this as far back from my head as I can and just tomahawk it.
He looks different, plays differently. I don't know if it's just straight maturity, if it's more confidence. I don't know exactly what that is. We have to have him back. Also a friend of the program. Most frequent guest, right? Isn't he number 1 on the list?
I believe he was.
Most frequent guest?
Yeah, he took over for McCabe.
We've got to have him back. I don't know if he'd directly answer that now or when the season's over, but he looks different. I'm thrilled that he's back. He's making a big difference.
Also friend of the program, Josiah Davis. He gets a lot done in relatively few minutes. He played 1 minute last night, took 2 free throws, grabbed a rebound, and had a turnover. I mean, he just gets out there and does things. Friend of the program, Josiah Davis. Speaking of that, got a nice email from a gentleman in Kitchener, Ontario over the weekend. And he was listening to a recent program we did, talked about bourbon, and said up where he's from there in Kitchener, the company's going to making first-time bourbon maple syrup. Bourbon maple syrup.
So you get drunk at breakfast?
I don't know. He's asked if we'd like an allotment of that. I said, sure. So he'll be sending that down. Bourbon maple syrup.
Shots of French toast? What are we doing?
Oh, boy. West Virginia, again, goes Saturday against the Musketeers of Xavier. I've never been there. I've never done a game at
Is it still the Cintas Center?
I believe it is. And they just call him X. Like Hugs just refers to him as X. Another nickname thing, right? So they just call him X. Xavier.
People constantly mispronounce, right? And they say Xavier instead of just Xavier.
Yeah.
Right? Xavier instead of Xavier.
Exactly right. So I don't know exactly what we're getting into. 3 guys before the game. If you're a regular listener, you know that we're brought to you by the Burdett Camping Center. They are the only dealership in the state of West Virginia that offers you a warranty that lasts forever when you buy an RV from them. Think about that. Forever is a long time. Long time. As long as you own it, it's under warranty forever. So why wouldn't you visit the fine folks at the Burdett Camping Center? 2 T's next to each other in the Burdett. BurdettCamping.com. That's BurdettCamping.com. Read several things over the weekend. I do some non-sports reading as well. And this data stuff, people stealing data, getting into your stuff, especially around Christmas time, it's downright crazy. Well, if you're a business owner, a name that you want to keep at the top of your mind is Comax Business Systems, because they will come in and they will manage your IT. They can also manage your voice and your phone. And I think all of us in life just like to be comfortable and confident and not worried. So Comax does that, 24/7 remote monitoring, giving you the peace of mind that you need to know that everything is cool. They have your networks back. And they really do it at an elite level. ENX Magazine 10 times has named them an elite dealer, the only dealer in the state of West Virginia to ever receive that award. So if you're a business owner and you're not sure about safety, data, phone, voice, you good with it? If not, ComaxWV.com. That's wv.com. Check them out. Y'all ready for some of that textual healing?
Sure.
Some questions that we've been receiving on the upcoming event that we're going to do. People want to know if, in fact, this will be played live at the event.
Oh, the song?
The song.
Like on the sound system, or you mean like a band
Will
playing
he
it?
be
Or
in there like
mixing it?
Mixing it or something like that?
This is a computer-generated creation. I don't think you can get the band together for that, right?
Maybe we can bring some people in to lip sync it. Something like that.
Pipe it through the speakers. Sure.
We could get this in there that night. Sure. Hey, as we record here, it is, what do you call this, Cyber Monday?
Yeah, that is today.
So just an FYI on that, you don't buy everything today, because we're going to have some new apparel releases. 3 guys apparel releases for the holiday season will be coming up. Had some meetings on that.
Like what? Like some T-shirts and hoodies and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Stuff that's nice.
Stuff
That's nice. JD writes in from the southern coal fields. I just listened to episode 420. I love the idea of you guys occasionally getting plastered on booze and recording a show. However, instead of that being a regular episode that anyone could watch, it should instead be a special episode for paid subscribers only. Maybe you do one show a month in that format. That way, no one who enjoys the regular free show has to listen to the more debauchery-filled paid episode with cursing, drinking, and whatever else. Just an idea. I know I'd love it, though, and I guarantee at some point one of you would get ticked off at the other two and stumble off, set in a drunken, hilarity-filled stupor mid-episode.
That happens already.
Yeah, it does.
Just please arrange a ride home. I love the show, and I'm looking forward to episode 800.
No chance.
If you're really going to make, Texter writes, if you're really going to make Hoppy Kirch of Ale, I will commit to drinking 12 or more every time the Mountaineer football team plays. Nobody has said anything. Oh, this is another text. No one has said anything, so I'm going to ask, where is JT?
That is a great mystery, and among the 3 of us and just in other media sources, you would hear things. You would hear things, right? I mean, even though programs want to keep things buttoned up, you would hear things. Even if they aren't true, you hear things, which frequently they aren't. And you don't hear a peep. You don't hear peep. But, so what conclusions can you reach? You can only try to reach conclusions based on what you know. What you know is he was struggling. What you know is when Neil Brown was asked about it, he said, you'll have to ask him, which I think that was indicative of something's going on there. And what you know is that Saturday, when it was time for the backup to come in, it wasn't JT Daniels, which certainly suggests that either he has an injury to some extent that you somehow don't know about, which you would know about by now, or that he's become persona non grata for whatever reason.
But it's not even like he's even discussed. I mean, normally if you have a quarterback controversy or you're playing a couple guys, you mention the other guy. Wasn't even mentioned all week.
No.
Not even said. And since Neil said you'll have to ask him, to my knowledge, he hasn't been made available for interviews, though, so you can't ask him. So I don't have a good answer on that. Wish I did.
Texter, ciao, amici. I couldn't help but notice the last couple of weeks, you fellas clicking your tongues after making a comment. What's the story behind this? It makes me think of the movie Hereditary. I haven't seen it yet. Watch it. P.S. Going to make a sticker for my beer growler when the new beer comes out. What do you think? Dino in Morgantown.
Have you seen Hereditary?
No.
Hey, Taylor, put up the beer growler that this gentleman sent. Hoppy was the tag on it. That's what he's going to put on his beer growler.
I think that looks kind of old school as well. It fits in with our phone.
He's doing it off the phone. That's exactly what he did. He did it off the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
What they should have had, he should have had the last Hoppy being you, Hoppy, and have the frown instead of a smile.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's sunny disposition, not necessarily associated with me.
At this point, the growler will have its own label on the growler. For those that are coming to the event and they get their growler, they're going to have it. It'll be a label on it.
That'd be the January 6th event.
Mm-hmm.
Details coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start getting info out about that.
Efforting.
You just do your show.
Okay.
Hoppy, Brad and I got this.
Okay.
But you're right. Once those tickets go on sale, it won't be on. It'll be quick. Texter, hey, Scopes, as a fellow coffee snob, I wanted to write in and encourage you. While good coffee may be hind tit to some people who only use it as a tool, you can have both function and flavor. I grind and brew a batch of French press coffee every morning using lightly roasted, single-origin coffee beans that I get shipped from a monthly subscription. Then I pour it into my classic Stanley thermos before I go to work. Yes, I carry it into the office just like a factory worker would going in for a long shift. Say what you want, but there is nothing like a good cup of coffee. Also, I wanted to give a shout-out to Taylor. He's doing great things. I moved to the Taze Valley area around the same time he started producing the show. Fun fact, did you know there's no physical address for Taze Valley? It took me a while to figure that out. I've concluded it's more of a mindset than the location. Appreciate you, clowns. Signed Matt and Scott Depot.
Maybe a Taze Valley mindset. Excellent. Is that true?
Apparently, if he said it. Texter writes just this, one line. Be very, very quiet. Hoppy hunting wabbits.
Mm-hmm.
Texter says, 3 guys, 2 things. Who actually called the fake punt in the Sugar Bowl? I thought it was Coach Stu. 2, if it's going to take money essentially to buy players, is there anything, a rule, stopping Coach Brown from donating money to the foundation that pays the players? Seems it would be in his benefit. Jim from Bridgeport, thanks.
I don't think you can do that.
Excellent question. It's the one rule that exists.
Yeah, there's one.
They just passed that. Literally says that coaches can't put individual private money into the
Well, that's the first.
collective. It's the one rule.
So there is a rule.
There's a rule.
Okay.
Now, you don't think a coach would maybe give it to his college roommate and have the college roommate donate it?
No.
Jim from Bridgeport was also asking who called the fake punt in the Sugar Bowl. I think it was probably a combination. Stu, I think, it was involved in special teams back then, but, it's got to get signed off by Rich, and they probably said, Rich, it's there if you want to do it. That's normally how it works. Hey, it's there if you want it. If you want it, it's there. That's probably how that works. And then he presses off. This next text was a little bit disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
From P1 Jason in Dallas, who is someone I had breakfast with when we went to the Texas Tech trip. Hi, guys. Is the senator implying that he is psychologically or physiologically immune to falling asleep as long as he's sitting upright? I think that's incredible. I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't sleep on planes. Taylor screamed over a cramp. I'd love to see what he would have done in my situation last Sunday. I was walking 18. When I stepped in a weird ditch hole, everything under my right knee stopped moving. Every other part of my body kept moving. Broken in half tibia, broken in half fibula, bone through the skin.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Surgery at 8:30 that night. Most Thanksgiving, I'm full of potatoes, deviled eggs, and beer. This year, full of oxycodone and self-administered subcutaneous injections. But at least I'll have my Mountaineers to watch. I feel blessed that this happened in 2022 instead of 1822 because I would have been dead in 3 hours. And my last words would have been, what a terrible shot.
He died infection.
Anyway, I like the idea of you guys drinking during an episode. You can combine it with the idea I gave Tony for a summer episode. 3 wives before the game. Your wives would host the episode and just air all the dirty laundry while you guys drink yourselves silly. I love the show. My gosh, Jason.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah, that's a bad
The guy had a compound fracture stepping into a hole on a golf course.
Oh, good to see that.
But how about the line? Glad it happened in 2022 instead of 1822. I would have been dead in 3 hours. It's true, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple things. No, I was not implying that. You used a lot of big words there, but no, I was not implying that. I too like to sleep on airplanes and can do it. I was simply saying when I'm upright on my couch watching games, I generally don't fall asleep. Occasionally, if I don't have a real heavy interest in a certain game that I'm watching, I may kind of slide over and use the pillow to prop myself while watching the game, Kirchhoff, and that's when it's all over. So that's what I meant. So as long as I have an interest in the game and I am sitting up, I'm generally okay.
How late did you make it Saturday?
Saturday I went down early.
Did you?
I didn't see 9:45.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tired.
Out tired.
Understood.
Next text comes from David Saab, who is the originator of Hoppy, Hoppy, Hoppy and textual healing. I heard that old Bob Saab, Stephen, made it into the studio. That's his brother. Remember they had that leadership group come in here?
Yes.
Happy to hear it. He often goes by the mayor of Morgantown, and of course, he won the Ultimate Mountaineer contest a few years back. More music is coming for that stats section. I had to order a new audio interface for the setup. Tyler Kennedy, or whoever runs your sound, would understand what that is.
Don't bet on that. But.
Yeah, good. Make sure that you have a couple of tickets for Bob Saab and I, probably for the event. He's talking about the event. We will definitely attend the new Hoppy Kirchhoff reveal. Cheers and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Momentum building.
Texter, Pastor Holly in Elkview. Hey, three guys, I listened to fans trashing players for leaving West Virginia's program for their own desires. NIL money, more playing time closer to home, etc. These fans ask, where is their loyalty? They say there is no loyalty anymore. These same fans stop going to the games, stop watching them on TV, want players and coaches to leave the program when they do not get their desires of so many wins or a championship, etc. Makes me ask, where is the loyalty of these fans to the program? Texter, hey, y'all, stop. Hey, y'all. If this were a recorded show, this is what I would do.
You go.
Three, two, one. Hey, y'all, just stopping in real quick. I'm currently at my in-laws watching the game on my phone because I'm married into an Ohio State family, and these people lose their mind when Ohio State makes one mistake, and I look at them like, really? At this point, it's comical. Take care, three guys. Stephen in Morgantown.
I'm sure the in-laws weren't real happy then by the time that game. There might have been more than one mistake in that one.
Hey, three guys, Jeff from Jane Lou. I have no clue what targeting is anymore. That is all. Take care.
Same.
Yeah.
Texter, forget about the grant of rights. WVU should leave the Big 12 for a conference who actually has a targeting role instead of just talking about one. Signed, Steve, not Cal, in California, not California, in Pennsylvania.
What you did not see Saturday, I don't think there was one call for illegal man downfield. Usually have one of those every game.
There wasn't a passing in that game.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Solid point.
1922, just everybody running the football.
Wasn't I do?
Young man couldn't forward pass.
Are you sure there wasn't one? I want to.
Maybe there was.
I want to say that there was one. I think I just off the top of my head, I thought Garrett scrambled around a good bit, and then maybe I may have dreamt it. Gentlemen, you've probably already addressed this by now, but in a season where we sweep the state of Oklahoma for the first time ever, beat Virginia Tech and Blacksburg at night, and defending champs Baylor, we don't go bowling. A Matt Campbell Iowa State team looks abysmal. Is the Big 12 that solid of a conference top to bottom, or is the Big 12 that mediocre top to bottom? Please make it make sense.
You know, that's a great point. And again, it's about wins and losses, and you can't look at it that way. But it is interesting. If West Virginia had managed to beat Pitt, you'd say you beat Pitt, you beat Virginia Tech, you beat the defending conference champs, and you beat both teams from Oklahoma. You might say, well, that's a pretty good year.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
Not only that, the top three in the preseason poll, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
Right?
Yes.
Baylor, Oklahoma State were 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
Yeah.
Texter adds, lastly, Emmett Matthews now has over 1,000 points in his career. So what's higher? Matthews' career points scored, the number of WVU football players that enter the portal, or the feet grown per year by Zach Edey? My God, is he ever huge. As always, thanks for doing the Lord's work, Philip and Tamper.
He's a big dude. Moves well, too. Shoots it nicely for that tall.
Knocks the heck out of free throws. Tell Hoppy he needs to up his sandwich game, and his wife ordering up that turkey at Subway isn't going to cut it. I, however, married the sister of your former colleague, Brent Jackson, who consistently makes us the caridi, a delightful sandwich with an assortment of Italian meats, cheeses, tomatoes, San Marzano, of course, and roasted red peppers. It is delightful, and I feel the need to both thank you for creating such a wonderful sandwich and admonish Hoppy for the poor choice of his. Show that guy a thing or two.
Why you got a sandwich shame?
Well, he does make a good sandwich. I mean, you eat whatever you want. You know I'm on board with that.
Right,
There should be no sandwich shaming. You eat whatever you want to eat.
Thank you.
But what the texture's describing
It's good.
that he makes,
Yeah. Is it?
that's pretty strong. I'll give him credit.
You've never had that?
No, I don't think
I
so.
don't think you've ever invited him.
Oh, that hurt.
I mean, you kind of forgot that. I don't know
Seriously,
that you wanted to say
never
that.
when I've gone up in the kitchen and like at times, like Christmas time, I'll go get all the stuff at the strip and bring the stuff down and we cut those rolls up, melt that cheese.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I've had those. Those are really good. Those are really good.
My dad.
West Virginia moment. I married the sister of your former colleague.
Yeah, Brent. You remember Brent.
Sure.
All that's missing is a county reference there.
And that while we were down on our land in Mercer County.
This is the peak season
Everybody
for
has
land.
land.
This is the peak
Yeah,
season.
everybody's got land.
This is
We're
peak
out
season
there.
for land in my county.
Us three clowns are up here talking about selling a T-shirt while everybody else in the state has land.
There's land.
Hey, buy our hoodie. Everybody else has land.
Everybody.
You know, the conversation this time of year normally goes, "Hey, just listen to the game last night." Oh, well, yeah, really? Yeah, couldn't watch it. Couldn't get. We don't get TV up in the cabin. Where were you? Well, my uncle had some land, and so we were up there. We were up there deer hunting, and where is it? Well, it's Randolph County. He's had it for a long time. Oh yeah, it was his grandfather's. My uncle got it, and then
Go ahead. What's the deal always?
well, he pays the taxes
Right,
on
pays
it just so we can keep it, so we can go up there and hunt.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we
Everybody
do.
but us three.
That's what we
Up
do.
here
He just pays.
grinding away. No land here.
No land.
He just pays taxes on it. We go up there and hunt, and I tell you what, we saw a 7-point. I tell you what, you should have seen this frickin' deer we saw driving to the game Saturday.
Oh, yeah?
Jed's driving, and it's dark, and there's this buck that comes up on the side, just kind of stands on the
In
side of the road.
Oklahoma?
Yeah. I mean, it was gorgeous.
Really?
You should have seen that rack on that thing.
A good thing you've retired from hunting.
Yeah. I don't know, but Jed said, it's my Tucker County vision. He slowed because he saw it coming up.
Oh.
It was gorgeous. Gorgeous. Anyway, texter, longtime listener, first-time texter. I'm a West Virginia alum, and I want to show support for Neil Brown and all the players. Even though results weren't what we had hoped for, they never threw in the towel. They fought hard all season. I think some patience is in order. Looks to me like Coach Brown is building a good foundation. Just needs more time. I think the university needs to step up, go ahead and announce that he'll be our coach next year. If they delay it, it will only hurt us with the portal and recruiting. What are your thoughts on that? I think you
Yes,
already said that, Senator.
Said it, and he's right. And I think you need to move quickly, and I think that Neil Brown will still be around next year.
Texter for Hoppy. Since we now own the state of Oklahoma, now maybe you should have Chelsea Ruby come on and ask about putting up a tourism office in Norman and Stillwater. Let's
State
go.
tourism director.
I met her husband and her son at a recent Mountaineer game.
Steve Ruby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they came through during halftime.
Yeah.
Ralph, that was from Ralph in Charleston. Texter, longtime listener, first-time textor. Thought I would wait until the end of the season to opine on Neil because I believe it's only fair to judge a coach on a complete season. 5-7, obviously below expectations for year 4, but we're 2 plays away, Pitt and Kansas, from 7-5 and 1 non-power 5 out of conference game and 6-6. What was Oliver thinking roughly 10 years ago when he scheduled 2 power 5s for our 3 out of conference games? Think about it like this. If we scheduled Youngstown in lieu of Pitt along with Towson and Virginia Tech, we finished 6-6. Sure, it's still shy of expectations, but we'd be bowl-bound and Mountaineer Nation would be considerably less unhappy, and that's a good thing. For those that believe that 2 Power 5 out-of-conference games is some secret sauce to success, look no further than TCU this year. They didn't play 2 Power 5 out-of-conference games, and they're going to the playoff. If they beat K-State For the simple fact, if you go 13-0 in the Big 12, you're 99.5% guaranteed to be in the top 4 and playoff bound. I say keep Neal, let the new AD get settled, make an assessment of the program. This move substantially reduces the amount of contract buyout and simultaneously gives the incoming AD important time to come up with an alternative plan. If next season's performance is such that the best course of action is to make a move. Go Mountaineers. See you at the Penn State game. Dave, class 84, out of Frederick, Maryland. P.S. How's the banjo strap working out? If you want a free lesson, I'm coming to the K-State game. We can pick courtside, do a picking thing. When you interview Hugs, I have a possibility. I think now that football's over, I may have some extra time to get the banjo back.
Wasn't a few years back, and you guys can correct me if on this, wasn't strength of schedule a big thing in football and getting to the playoffs, therefore schools supposedly, because somebody got kept out?
Yeah, Shane mentioned that with you today.
Yeah, he did today.
The TCU Baylor argument. Now, some of that was who won the conference championship. But, yeah, and see, this is what stinks about this discussion. We've had it a bunch, is if I were the coaching staff, I would be beside myself pissed off about this, that this is going to potentially may cost us our jobs, because the texture's right, and we've been through this a million times, how West Virginia's the only one doing this, that you would have scheduled another win. Now, again, 6-6 isn't where you want to be either. I mean, that's not the difference either. But it does matter because others aren't doing it. TCU is a great example there. The flip side is, as a fan, I hate that we have to dumb down the schedule and that all of college football has dumbed down the schedule. That's a college football issue, in my opinion. I would prefer to see West Virginia playing the Pitts and the Virginia Techs and the Penn States and the Marylands. I love that as a fan. And I get it. And that's ultimately why Oliver and Shane went down that path, because the fans wanted to see those games.
Trying to sell tickets.
I totally understand how you got to that point. But that should be factored in to the decision about the coaching staff. That matters. You have not done them any favors with the scheduling. It's just, as a fan, I hate that college football can't bring it back to making strength of schedule matter a little bit in lieu of just straight wins, in my opinion.
I agree, but are you going to make, whether it's Garrett Green or Nico Markey or somebody else, go play? I know they're going to try to move the Duquesne game up ahead of Penn State.
If possible.
If they can do that, so at least you have a warm-up game. No offense, Duquesne. Warm-up
All
game.
due respect.
Before Penn State, then a week off before Pitt, which would be a much more manageable situation, rather than saying Nico Markey, if he's your starter, you got to go, oh, by the way, starting from 100,000 people at Penn State.
Never mind Nico, and I've said this for a month now, and I'll still continue to stand by it. If you're going to remove this staff and bring a whole new staff in, and you're going to say, by the way, congratulations, your first game or your first power. Okay, all due respect to the exhibition in Duquesne.
Right.
Your first game's Penn State. I mean, you kidding me? And then your next game's going to be what then?
Yeah,
Pitt. You're going to open with a new coach that's totally remaking the roster.
Probably changing the offense, changing the defense, everything.
That's not an easy ask. And if I was the agent for a new coach coming in, I wouldn't be licking my chops on that. I'm going to need a little bit more. You're not setting my guy up to lose his first 2 games. Now, again, I'm with you. I think the prudent course of action is to leave this staff in place. As we have said, go figure out how the collective can make some more money. Go out there and get some fundraising going and go get some players. Move forward. Win some games, Kirkville.
Win some games.
That's what I say.
Joe in Charleston, South Carolina writes in, I'm watching this on a DVR, and Jalen Anderson is a very good running back. Their identity needs to be more running, no matter who is coaching. Oliver Strauss saved the game, catching the bad punt snap going into the last drive. They could have folded up like a cheap beach umbrella after Kansas State, but they didn't. Character builder. Was the snap bad to Oliver, or Oliver just drop it?
It looked like it just went through his hands.
I mean, but the last 20 minutes of that game, everybody dropped everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the Oklahoma State had the ball. They were dropping everything.
The ball weighed 9 pounds.
Yeah.
At the end. I didn't know. I heard Neal say it postgame. I didn't know you could only use 10 balls now.
Yeah, you are.
What stupid rule is that? For all the money that's in this game, why can't you have 172 balls? What dumb rule is that?
Balls you want?
Exactly. What dumb rule is that? Only going to have 10 balls. Stupid. Ted from Colorado. I had 3 criteria for keeping the coach. Play hard for the remaining games. Keep the recruiting class intact. Don't lose a bunch of good players to the portal. First criteria met. Do you think he can meet the other 2 goals?
Well, they've recruited well. You got to see now who leaves, who stays.
I would say this, Ted. Don't lose a bunch of good players to the portal. That's so hard, man. That's so hard. it's difficult. And if every decision to leave was based on rational logic, it would be so much easier. But it isn't necessarily based on rational logic. There are so many people that get involved in these decisions for kids that don't quite have the best information in front of them. It's hard. So I'm going to go under the belief that you're going to lose a bunch of players everywhere on every team that make you go, oh, but you just got to go fill it in.
So, yeah, then you go find the ones that are Ohio State and Alabama,
Right.
that
Exactly.
Clemson that left too. But, again, you better move because your number one recruit in the class that's currently waiting to sign here in 2 weeks visited Penn State this weekend. So somebody's got to alert people as to what the status is here. Or, guys, what happens when there's indecision and there's uncertainty? What are those players going to do? They're not just going to sit and wait if they have other options. Right. Or should they?
Right.
They should do what's best for them. So you got to get moving on this thing, man.
Texter, I'm currently watching Jimmy Bell take Colin Castleton's lunch money, and it's very satisfying. Texter, basketball text, ESPN color analyst discussing diving on the floor for loose balls. He said, quote, "That's not celebrated at West Virginia. It's expected." Nailed it. You're right. I think this team this year has already hit the floor more than last year's team combined. You remember that one play last night? There were 4 dudes down. 4 men down. Got the ball. Texter, hey, 3 guys, great wins over the long weekend and a good loss. That Purdue on Thursday looked like a Final Four caliber squad if I've ever seen one. On the football side, can anyone tell me what targeting actually is? Because to me, that hit on Green looked pretty textbook, not Bryan and Berkeley Springs. Texter.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't targeting.
Texter, will there be a limit on the number of tickets that you can buy at one time for your event for Hoppy Kirchevale?
It's a good question. Hasn't been discussed, has it?
Didn't think about it. Now I know exactly what they're going to do. Someone's going to buy all of them.
And resell.
And then resell. That's what they do in these concerts.
Can't have that. I mean, it'll be a hot ticket. But got to give the opportunity to as many people as possible.
All I'll say is we haven't thought about that, but let's be cool. Let's be fair. Just be fair.
Wait a minute. First of all, you've talked about what the price is going to be. I'm not sure you've said it publicly before. But somebody might buy them all
determined.
and then try to sell them and go, oh, they're not worth twice what I paid for them, or a markup of 25%. I mean,
or maybe they're worth twice as much, and someone's going to skate with a big piece of money.
I don't think they're going to be worth twice as much.
Okay, here's this is exactly why you're not included in these planning meetings. We don't need your negative energy bringing us down as we're trying to matriculate the ball down the field. We
Very
don't need
negative
that.
energy. Very negative
So
energy.
we'll just get back to you on where you need to be and when, and we'll handle the rest.
Good point. I'll shut up.
Texter, John in Virginia.
No business acumen.
0 of a gnat. Good victory Saturday despite the weather. Garrett and Nico performed well. Now the question, can Garrett and Nico coexist? Only one can be the starter. Both have talent and potential. It appears Goose may already be entering the portal, and JT probably sees the writing on the wall. So what will the quarterback room look like next year? Here's the answer. 3 letters. TBD. We'll see.
We have to, at some point, get the JT Daniels story. I mean, somebody get me his phone number.
Ooh.
I'll call him up, get him on the show.
Seth in Williamstown writes, fellas, since your release of Hoppy Ale is January 6th, are you going to dub that day the Hopsurrection or Insurhoption? Adding to Brian and Logan's text about the concerns about the Hoppy beer, that it would be bitter and also make you pee a lot. Also, when you get the drunk munchies, the significant order has to be your Subway sandwich. No, the fact that this event is going to take place on the same day of the January 6th thing on the Capitol is absolutely 100% nothing to do with that. It just happens to be the night before the Kansas game.
Yeah.
So we are apolitical on this show. Hoppy does all the politics. We don't do politics. So it just happened to be the night before Kansas. Texter. Hey, three guys. Anything from stopping an NIL collective from working with multiple schools, creating a pipeline like a minor league system.
I've heard talk about that, but I don't know if anybody's done that.
Yeah. P.S. One of the funny hidden Easter eggs of this stupid podcast is the periodic revelation of past careers of the senator. It reminds me of one of my favorite Simpsons scenes where Homer lists all of his jobs.
Yeah, what came out last time?
Well, he did like...
I've really only done two things in my life.
No,
What's
you
come
wore
out?
the Connecticut Husky mascot thing. I think that's probably what he's got going.
Okay.
Now, you also had another thing recently where we went like, I didn't know that.
Yeah, what was it?
I
Oh,
forget
no, he broadcasted his high school radio station.
Yeah. Big broadcast guy.
Yeah, broadcast.
DJ. He's a DJ. That was it.
I did do games, too, before I was
you
playing.
did play-by-play?
Yeah, no. I can't even remember. No, I think I was
You can't remember?
No, I can't remember. A long time ago.
Okay.
I don't remember. Two-man booth. I don't remember who was doing what.
Two-man
Roles might not have been clearly defined at that point. I don't know.
That's funny you say that. That's really funny you say that. So, I want to tell you something. So, when I was a freshman or sophomore in college, I'm at Geneseo. I think it was my freshman year. This kid named Mark Purcell asked me, hey, do you want to go out with me? We're going to do a high school basketball game. All right. And I go like, yeah, play-by-play, like opportunity. So we go out and do Geneseo High School against the Lyons, Lyons, Lions. That was their name.
That's unique.
It's Jim Boeheim's high school. That's where we went to school, the Lions. So we sit 2 or 3 rows into the bleachers. He brings out the gear, and we're doing this game. First time I'd ever done an actual broadcast. He's play-by-play. I'm the color guy. Okay. So the games, I'm going like, wow. It was like this epiphany for me. Like I'm going like, oh, this is awesome. I love this. Well, the game gets tight in the fourth quarter. I don't know. I don't think Mark's doing that great of a job.
This is a stunner.
I don't think Mark's doing that great of a job. So it was kind of like the co-pilot just took the yoke and said, I got it. And I just remember like just taking it from him going like, all right, here's Brad Howe over to the right side. Just took it over. And after I walked out of there and went, I'm doing that for the rest of my life.
What was your friend, Bob?
Mark.
What about Mark?
Don't know whatever happened to Mark.
Was he upset that you co-opted
May have been upset that night. He's probably over it by now.
him? Maybe.
But that was it.
Might have changed his career path.
May have. I went like, I'm doing this.
No, that's a defining moment.
Yeah.
That's a
Anyway,
defining moment.
You brought that up.
If he had not come up and asked you,
Yeah.
you'd be, I don't know.
Selling insurance, being one of them insurance guys that sit on their desk with their feet up on there, just banking money all the time.
Making billions.
Exactly. Making about $400 or $500 a year, just getting re-ups on their policies. That's a great job. This insurance guy's got it figured out. Home at night. Don't work on the weekend. Just amazing.
You know what? Okay. We all worked all weekend, all Thanksgiving. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yesterday, I'm trying to figure out who the new AD is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. McCarron's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I got a text. Got to see if Pat Chun is in the discussion.
Or if he just got delayed at the Apple Cup banquets and couldn't interview.
Exactly. But that's we have chosen our paths.
It's a business. It's a business that we've chosen.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think there's more insurance guys.
Pat Chun reference in
I don't know. I might have chosen wrong twice. You guys at least just chose wrong once.
I think there's more insurance guys trying to do what would like to do what we do rather than there's more announcers wishing that they were insurance guys. Maybe I might be 50-50. I don't know.
You don't have to pick on insurance. I mean, I think that
pretty good gig. That's a great gig.
I mean, everybody's situation is different. Things happen, but we do get an opportunity for the most part to choose our way forward.
Yeah.
And we've all, you know, this
Maybe
is what we've
maybe
chosen.
that's what the texter was talking about, because I did say, remember, I was recruited heavily for insurance. Speaking of insurance,
Oh, that's
I
right.
did work at an insurance company for a couple summers in college.
You did?
And Des Moines' big insurance,
Oh, huge capital.
right in the middle of
Yeah.
What'd you
smack
do?
in the middle.
What'd you do?
I'll help the underwriting support team. All the agents were down on the first floor. I was on the second. I'd come down.
What does
They'd
the
pull me
underwriter?
out.
What's the underwriter do?
went to they got to review the applications. Got to review the applications coming in from all over. So I'd prepare those applications, get them ready, put them in the right place.
Stack them up.
Deliver them. That one will pass. Send that on through. Probably wouldn't have wanted to stay in underwriting support my whole career, but being heavily recruited from the agent side of things.
Why didn't you do it?
Huh?
Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Oh, his regrets.
I wanted to go to Connecticut and put the stupid husky dog outfit on for $6 an hour. That's why.
Got a guy with a husky thing on his head.
Got
wondering
all
why
giddy
he isn't
that
selling
Ray Allen
insurance.
and I were hanging out eating food up in the team meal.
You got a world championship ring from Gino.
I did. Had a great run.
I don't think they're handing those things out at the insurance company. Evan in South Charleston, am I crazy thinking this season was actually a success? This team may not have lived up to expectation, but still beat the preseason top 3 in the conference. I'm actually very excited to see what Neil can do next year. Riley in Charleston writes, every time the addition of Jose Perez is brought up, I cringe a little. This team appears to have a really good chemistry and is playing unselfish. Am I wrong to fear that plugging in a guy that has a reputation as a scorer, see the Teddy Allen comparisons, is going to cause some disturbance? Signed, Riley in Charleston.
Well, something would tell me that if he were taking too many ill-advised shots, that he might be summoned to the bench by the head ball coach
Or player coach Eric Stevenson.
Eric might tell him. I think Eric will handle that first before anybody gets to the bench.
You think Eric will give him, Hans, get him out?
No, Eric Stevenson strikes me as a guy. I think he'll go right to Perez on that.
I saw Eric in an open gym this summer do it. Get him out! I went like, he hasn't even played a game here yet.
Get him
He's making player personnel moves.
Hopefully he comes in and adds a nice little another scoring option that's been going well so far, but you can never have too many guys that can put the ball in the basket, Kirchhoff.
That's right. Doesn't
Gentlemen.
work out, you can put him back out on the waiver. Get picked up by somebody.
Trade him for,
So you always have your eye on the waiver wire. Might need to make an addition in February for the stretch run.
how awesome would that be, dude?
I'm getting ready to make a playoff run. Need
Seriously,
to add a big.
How awesome would it be? Like February 15th. February 15th is the college player trading deadline. You're getting ready. You're beefing up for the tournament. We really need a shot blocker, and we need a go-to 3-point shooter. Like, let's take Brad and send him over and pick this guy up. Gentlemen, after listening to the full interview with Shane, it seems like he was a scapegoat. I believe they made a mistake. Time will tell also. Is it just me, or has Hoppy hijacked Sportsline? Well, welcome to our world, frickin' guy.
I do what's news.
Been coming into our territory
Sometimes
for years.
sports is news.
One of these days, he's going to get a shot right in the schnozola. Randy from State College, I have to agree with Tony. Italian sausage stuffing is unbelievable. I gorged myself, spent a lot of time on the couch sleeping it off. My wife thought I looked a lot like the sleeping hog that Scopes harvested.
Good sleeping hog reference.
Pig wasn't sleeping, man. He was scared.
Pig was sound asleep. Next time you make Italian sausage, hopefully it's not Thanksgiving next time. Can you bring some in? I'd like to try that. I think I'd really like that. Why don't you just whip up a
my
batch of
sister
that?
brought me a meat grinder for a recent something or other, and I haven't made it. Yeah, I'm going to make it.
Okay, good.
Looks like the Hall of Famer has a team again. Yeah, they throw it around a little bit and could rebound a little better, but they work hard on both ends. They're fun to watch. I don't know how many games we'll win, but we're going to be in most of them. My two sons came in for Thanksgiving, which made it special. One is a Purdue grad, which made the PK85 tournament all the better. Yeah, West Virginia lost, but like many dads, I knew what buttons to push during the game to piss them off. Small victory, I know, but a victory nonetheless.
Well played.
I try to make it down for a game every year, and this will be no exception. I'll always bring a few friends with me. Most are not WVU grads, but all are college hoops fans. Our first stop, usually Mario's, to have a fishbowl or two. Great atmosphere. The crowd never disappoint. What's this about the Burger King having free parking? I used to have free parking. Now it's $25.
I want a cut of that.
Excuse me?
I want a cut of that. That idea came out of here. They were not doing that. They were just towing people, and I said, why not use that big parking lot and charge some money for that? And you didn't like that idea. You're not being very entrepreneurial.
Shocker.
I said that on this show. I would like a cut of that. Stole my idea. They're now charging people to park there.
Wait a minute. That you had this unique, never before thought of idea to charge for parking for a
apparently.
sports event?
Yeah.
There it is.
At the
There-
Burger King.
Hey, there it is. There's a tow trucks in the lot at BK.
At the
Patterson
Burger King.
Drive.
I know others have charged.
Yeah.
I specifically gave free consulting to the Burger King on Patterson.
Yeah, you put a claim on that. See how
I
that
did.
goes. There was. Did you see? I'll tell you where
Week
that
later,
falls.
they
You know where
take
that
that and they
falls?
go and do it.
Somebody. I just read the story today. Had it clipped out. Somebody filed a lawsuit. You know how you get those macaroni things and you heat them for 3.5 minutes, and they filed a lawsuit and said it takes longer than 3.5 minutes.
Wow.
By the time you open it and put it in a microwave.
Who?
I got the matter of fact. I have it somewhere. The lawsuit itself.
Last text. Guys, enough of this tease about this event on January the 6th. When will tickets go on sale? What's the true skinny?
There you go. Direct question. How you going to answer?
I would think
Don't overpromise.
at the very latest, a week from today on the episode, we'll have the details and let you know what it's going to be. Might even have it as quick as Thursday.
Disclaimer, take a few days.
Give or take a few days. We're efforting.
Views represented by one host doesn't necessarily reflect the views of the others.
I would say, again, all I'm going to say is January 6th is the date. That's the day the beer is going to be introduced.
You know the place, though. You can say the place, right?
Yes. Place is across the street at
Across the
the
street.
Apothecary Ale House across the street from our studio. Probably going to be able to use our parking lot here on the day of the event.
How much we charging? For parking?
$25.
No, free parking. I'm going to maintain free parking. We're not going to charge.
Parking revenue twice now. So everybody all over town giving away free parking off my idea.
We're not going to charge for
I
parking.
call the MAC. I might have a claim with them too.
Brad's going to be there with one of those things around his waist where you put
With the coin.
with the coin.
Coin that kicks out.
That'll be. No,
I got two
two
20s. Just keep it.
Here's
Don't
three
worry about
$1 bills.
I
only do
Two
that
quarters and 4 pennies.
It's
Those
coming
things
along.
have gone away too, haven't they?
That's because
Since nobody does cash.
Nobody's charging $250 for parking anymore, right? It's like $40.
I know, but you just put your card out. You just give them your card. I mean, nobody walks around with that cash dispenser thing, do they?
I don't know.
Those are like the coin purse, those rubber coin purses that have gone
Oh,
away.
we forgot about those.
It's going to be a good night.
And the thing on the register at the grocery store when your change would come out, it'd go like a curly Q
yeah,
slide.
those things are gone.
Remember that? The curly Q slide when it
Yeah.
would come all the way down and rattle around in the cup, and then
I
you
think
pull
they're
it out
still
of the
at
cup.
the Kroger.
They still have those?
Yeah, I think you might be right.
so.
Who
They
the
have
hell
the change
uses
slide?
cash? But people don't use money anymore. So you don't get change because people don't use money.
Yeah.
They use a card.
Or like the plastic
For
cup
nearly
on top of
40
the thermos,
years, a
those
man
have gone
hosted a
away.
local radio talk
People
show.
just have these new thermoses like he does.
A man in
Newfangled thermoses don't
Morgantown,
have
West
any-
Virginia.
We haven't heard this
named
lately. Let's play this one more time. Hit!
Hoppy. This is all very peculiar for me. The Mansion Whisperer. I can tell my Hoppy story now. Oh, yeah, you got a story about me?
So, guys, before the game comes back on Thursday, we'll have a preview of West Virginia and the Xaviers. We'll also have some more information on our apparel line.
What?
Yeah, we will. I'm just going to make it happen. I'm just going to say we're doing it. Let's go.
Okay, good.
Christmas gifts and more information on the tickets.
Over under. I don't have an. Do we have an AD name by Thursday? Yes or no? Do we have an AD name by Thursday? Yes or no?
Wow.
I'm gonna.
It's not an over-under. It's a yes or a no.
Yeah, no, I screwed that up. Not a very good gambler.
What do you say?
I asked you that question on Saturday, and you said yes.
I'm gonna go yes, and I'm not saying that like, oh, I got info. I'm gonna go yes.
How could you not?
I'm gonna
How
go
could
yes.
you? How could you not?
You going yes?
Yeah, I said yeah. Under the guise of how can you not?
Okay.
It's been in the 3 to 4 week window, and you're getting towards the back end of that. You got to go. You got to go here.
Tony.
I don't know. I don't know. Three guys before the game brought to us by Comax Business Systems, your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. That's KOMAXWV.com. and by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. Three Guys Before the Game returns on Thursday for more of what this is, just a stupid podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Stupid podcast.
Stupid show.